We'll do a bunch of stuff. I love that tune.
Good evening and welcome to Field Talk. I am the Field, also known as Field of Bears, here to remind you that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. And I have finally opened up correctly. What a wonderful thing. Alright, so today I've been saying a lot, well, yesterday too, and the day before, a lot of this, civility stuff, and I'm only self-censoring at the moment because I don't want to. Hey, Debbie, veteran, hello. Yeah, you're gonna like tonight's. All right. Yeah, so I've been saying a lot of the civility stuff lately, and I've been seeing a lot of people talking about. Oh. Actually, wine of the past several days. It's very good, actually. It's from a local place called Pomar Junction. And this is their everyday drinker called Brewster Red. It's a blend, and it's very delicious. I didn't get notified for your stream, Veteran Bear. I know I subscribed to you. YouTube, what are you doing? Ah, that's right. I push it away while I'm playing Skyrim. There, that's better, isn't it? I need to put the arm back on here. Fog cutter double IP. Haha. That will probably cause me to die. Fog cutter double IPA, because it's probably made out of barley, which means it has gluten in it. And since I have an autoimmune disorder which causes my body to attack my healthy cells if I consume a protein structure called gluten, not a great thing. I'll definitely check it out after the stream, Veteran Bear. I was, yeah. I had to focus on what I'm going to say just a second. So, on civility and civil war, at the outset of the election, I was resigned to the prospect of the nation sliding into the ruination of creeping socialism at two speeds, quickly or very quickly. There was talk in my family about where we could flee to in order to live at least more freely than if the Constitution was successfully dismantled or circumvented to a greater degree than it already is. However, there was some rumbling among fellow patriots that such an erosion would be met with armed resistance, since one of two things were next: hate speech laws or gun confiscation. In the first case, SCOTUS was fairly good at protecting freedom of speech, so long as the court leaned right. But in the second, they were far more split, and a single appointment could have upset the balance to the point where more and more draconian and ineffectual gun laws would be foisted upon the American people by means of sophistry and fraud. Molin Labe. It would have been a bloodbath, and I don't know which side would have survived. I say survived instead of prevailed on purpose. Now, again, I feel it is necessary to communicate that I do not actually want to push communists out of helicopters. It is a dark joke that turns the hateful violence of communism on its head, and lets them know that if they were to go far, their opposition can go far as well, and it might not end in their favor. I will never give up on my preference for nonviolent solutions, for negotiation, for agreements that operate on a win-win paradigm. I address this to extreme elements on both sides of the aisle, not because I see them as equivalent, but because I think that if we can avoid killing each other, we ought to. My argument to the left goes as follows: you will lose. Currently, the American right holds the reins of the state, putting them at a massive military advantage, and any attempts on your part to overthrow the right's control over the state will be legitimately treated as an insurrection. Moreover, there are plenty of right-wingers and centrists who, if not willing to fight you directly, are perfectly willing to aid in defeating you. Even without the backing of the state, the political right is more fit for physical combat, more able to develop clear chains of command, and much better armed. Don't do it. Now, don't think of this as an endorsement of the bring it on attitude, veteran bear, I'm sorry, that I have seen on the right recently. Even if you win a fight to the death, you lose something in the process. Forget the psychological effects that it might have on you for this argument, as I don't know the level of fortitude your psyche enjoys. You lose out on who that idiot who just wanted to kill you could have been. It is true that socialism is a negative value, and that socialists are also a negative value. But socialists have this funny habit of realizing how retarded they had been once they start being productive and watching the state siphon off a portion of their incomes to squander and mismanage ostensibly for the sake of the poor. If it is possible to talk somebody out of temporary derangement, then I believe you are morally obligated to make the attempt before you pull the trigger. Obviously, there will be a point where it's too late for talk, but we are not there yet. So let's get back to civility. Let's have bare-knuckle, drag-out battles of the mind, but leave the profanity behind so much as you can help it. I understand the utility of a good, profane filler word, especially in the heat of the moment, but it might serve only to heat up the moment further. Let's, so far as we are able, be patient and forbearant with our intellectual foes and give them a little undue respect. A little like pretending to take a toddler seriously when he's on the verge of a tantrum. This doesn't mean you let them call you names or physically intimidate you. The second they start being uncivil with you, when you have been nothing but nice to them, you stop the conversation and make it about how rude that just was. And don't let it go until they've calmed down. However, sometimes they won't calm down, and in that case, it's no act of cowardice to disengage before your intellectual opponent becomes a physical one. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with finding the off switch on an Antifa who just took a swing at you. But hey, I'm just a guy in a field. Everyone's been saying that my audio's good recently. Is this a thing for everybody? Did no one just get that argument? Hello, Walking Bear. I think I'm something of an intellectual. Hey, Mayor Macbeth. All right. Just so you guys know, the chat is up on the Okay. Okay. All right. Then it's probably your speakers, and not my microphone. I am right into here. All right. Good. So welcome everybody. I think that is a pretty good and concise argument in favor of civility. Debbie, where did you get kicked out of? I never kicked you out. Wait a second, Dom. Are you abusing your powers again? Is Dom abusing his powers again? All right, okay. Okay. I've done a lot of fiddling with my settings. I thought I was doing pretty okay. You censored Nimmer, Dom. You censored him. Just because you like to walk around in an undershirt like some kind of heathen. Oh no, it's okay, Debbie. We know that Dom gets just a little bit drunk on power sometimes. So he does need the pushback sometimes, just a little bit. Well, you could do it, but then we'd think you're an idiot. Yeah, you could spam anti-Semitic rhetoric in here, but yeah, we would think you're an idiot. So. But you're the one who dresses like a heathen, Dom. Nimmer does not deserve to be censored for pointing out that you dress like a heathen. Barney Hopper is a dog, not a guy. So I think that's a pretty good. Yeah, and then I gave Nimmer a wrench, so now you can't do it to him. Oh, Ian Hopper. I've. It isn't Dom. I'm just making fun. I don't know who Ian Hopper is. Actually, I might. Someone remind me. But in any case, so I really do want to push back on this idea I've been seeing on the right of Bring It On. And I am fairly confident that in a civil war, it would not end very well for the left. Hey, Pastry Bear, good to see you again. Yeah, I just gave wrenches to my early dudes. Nero says that I get. It says that maybe nobody needs a wrench. I give wrenches to my early dudes because there weren't very many of us, and YouTube has a filter on if you try and send chats too quickly in a row to many, and so that was getting a little. That would have gotten just a little bit irritating for anyone who wanted to have a conversation with me over the chat. So I just kind of nipped that in the bud. And since I gave it to my regular dudes who like me and generally have the same commitment to freedom of speech as I do, maybe not exactly the same, but at least on a similar level, then I could trust them to mostly not abuse their powers. Well, yes, you're right. You bring up. That's why I laid out. If like the second someone is being uncivil to you, you stop the debate and you have a conversation on why that was unacceptable. Oh, thank you very much for smashing the like, Veteran Bear, and hello, Pinder. Uh, I'm glad that you're fashionably late as always. Now, I just realized that the monologue has some errors of spelling in it, so I'm going to have to go onto the blog post and fix that. Actually, yes, I do, and I say it almost every day, every stream at the end. That will be paypal.me/field talk. Easy to remember, same as the name of the show, but not the name of the channel, which is Ryan E. Field Huzzah, because I was grandfathered in with my custom URL. Whoops. Oh well. Anyway. Well, yeah, currently the right does have the truth on their side, but when you think about temperaments between the right and the left, and when you think about what the actual right and actual left in America means, you have to remember that America was founded on the philosophical idea of British liberalism. So conservatives, they want to conserve our liberty, and liberals, they want like the real ones anyway, not this weird and new European nonsense that has been infiltrating our country for the past like 80 years. But the real ones, the real liberals, want to expand our liberties. So if the left and the right in this country should be able to have a conversation about which of our traditions need to be strengthened, which of them need to be updated, and which of our liberties need to be expanded, and which expansions are probably counterproductive. That's what the real conversation needs to be, and I think that removing the option of force will help that conversation along. Oh, what happened to Cambodia in 1978? I don't know. I didn't know you even had an intro, Boulder Bear. Are you doing streams? Are they fun? Oh yes, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the derangement is permanent. I think that it's possible to sort of shock people out of it. I'm just not entirely sure how. Oh, genocide. Yeah, that's pretty awful. Yeah, the Antifas are a lot like the Mensheviks and Bolsheviks in Russia. in the early 20th century. Oh, Cambodia. Oh boy. The Asian socialist and communist takeovers, I think, are brutal in ways that even the Russian ones weren't. I had no idea that Pol Pot was executed, let alone that it was televised. So, yeah, like abandoning as we see looking at history, abandoning civility in language is actually not terribly far away from abandoning civility in act. And when you're uncivil in your actions, that's when you're committing assault against people, burning down stores, and then it's really not that far of a jump to violent revolution. And as we learned in 1776, sometimes a violent revolution is actually necessary. But sometimes it is not necessary, as we learned in the 20th century. It just because one thing is overthrown doesn't mean that the next thing is going to be better. You have to have a very solid foundation of liberty-minded principles when you replace the existent system with the new system in order to have a successful revolution. Um, exactly, exactly, Pender. That is the communists killing literally all of their opposition, even other communists, other socialists who happen to be in an opposition party, because they have to. The communists have one party has to be the one in control of everything. Otherwise, their power base is diminished, and they can't have well their wealth and status. Oh, so Pol Pot killed himself in anticipation of his execution. Well, that's good to know. For Pol Pot, I'm not sure that there was a going back for him. There was also no going back for Hitler, obviously. But I don't think that the totalitarian leader. Yeah. I don't think that the totalitarian leader can afford to be courageous. What do you guys think? I don't think that the totalitarian leader can afford to be courageous, because in order to be a totalitarian leader, you have to. Well, Boulder Bear, this was after the Reign of Terror. You have to understand that the French exiled Napoleon after they had what is it, like 10 years of guillotining people? Yeah, so in order to be the totalitarian leader, it's impossible to not crush people. It's impossible to not be oppressive. It's impossible to not leave enemies and hatred in your wake. So when you know you're riding this tiger, you're frightened of getting off of it. And once you're caught, well, if you get pushed off the tiger, maybe some of these people think it's better to eat a bullet than let it rip you apart. Very good point, Uncensored Christian. We did not define courage in the connotation of courage and cowardice in the connotation of totalitarian leaders taking their own lives when they're facing justice for their evil actions. So, I think that in this context, I think that courage would be facing the consequences that your actions have accrued. If that's execution or exile or being eternally reviled by the people you formerly led. Well, the interesting thing about Kim Jong-un is, yeah, Kim Jong-un. You're right. The interesting thing about Kim Jong-un is he didn't jump on the tiger himself. He's not the one who was making the decisions that resulted in millions of Koreans starving to death. He's not the one who made the decisions that resulted in the stunted growth of nearly all of Koreans. He's not the one who made the decisions that mean that almost all of Korea is living still in the 20th century instead of the 21st century. He's not the one who decided that Koreans need to be told that the entire world hates them. So he's got just more innocence than his father and grandfather had, and on top of that, he's been outside of North Korea. He knows what the world could be like, and yeah, he's not doing morally great things. Obviously, he's still the totalitarian leader of a slave state, and there are still people being unjustly punished in horrifying ways in Korea, but yeah, I've been seeing some kind of Barney brings up the theory that Kim Jong Un did not order his family members to be killed. I think that I'm not sure how the military structure of the DPRK works, but I believe that they do have a sort of Praetorian Guard section of the military, and I think that probably the military was angling to make Kim Jong Un their kind of deified figurehead to put up in front of the people and then just act with impunity and let him take the blame on the world stage. And so, if they wanted a single point of control, that meant that Kim Jong Un would have to be completely isolated from any possible allies, and so that would mean that they would have to kill those possible allies or turn them. I think that you're right, Uncensored Christian. It would be just to hold into account for the continuation of socialism in the DPRK, but maybe in the interest of bringing greater liberty to the people of the DPRK, we can suffer the injustice of forgoing the punishment that he rightly deserves. Yeah, I'm not actually getting this. I'm not actually getting that theory from our government. I don't know about that, Mayor Macbeth. I don't know if he's just trying to tone down the bad press that the DPRK gets, because pre-Trump, bad press was actually a good thing for the negotiating position of the DPRK, because then they could just threaten war and get concessions from Obama or Bush or Clinton. The U.S. was not a very strong negotiator pre-Trump. So but now that Trump is in there, he negotiates from a position of justifiable military might and also tactical strength, because when it comes to state versus state, there is no one who can stand up to the unbridled force of the U.S. military, because the thing that keeps us back is our own standards of behavior. If yeah, so removing the option to threaten war, from the DPRK's negotiating toolbox meant that they would have to instead begin offering concessions. Like today, I just found out that Kim has offered to remove the artillery batteries pointed at Seoul. Now that's huge. That is good for the people who live in the DPRK, and it's good for the people who live in South Korea. Even if there's not reunification, maybe just normalized relations between the two nations would be an improvement on the world stage. Now, being a Christian means that I don't think that any of the Kims have gotten away with their crimes. See, Mayor Macbeth, I think that you're right to remain skeptical, but I think that you might want to have a bit more optimism about the situation, because reducing military presence on the DPRK's side is entirely unprecedented, and it, like, even in the face of bad press or trying to look like they're doing something when they're really not. Even with his father Kim Jong Il, when he would say, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll have nuclear inspectors," and then take the inspectors to a non-nuclear site. You can easily verify if the artillery has been moved away from the DMZ. It's not that difficult to figure out. And so that's a major improvement on the peninsula. Yeah, I understand Mayor Macbeth, but I'm pretty young, so I know more about what's going on currently than how things have gone. Yeah, the artillery is fortified in the mountains. I do know that the terrain is not favorable to an armored assault, but we can still surveil it fairly easily, which is how we know that it's there in the first place. Mayor Macbeth, the mountainous terrain doesn't actually hide it from our view. What it does is it prevents us from taking it out from the air or from approaching it with an armored assault. Yeah, yeah, and I think that expertise is incredibly valuable. Mayor Macbeth, I do know that the tunnels for the artillery system does exist, and I do know that they have tunnels underneath the DMZ, and they're probably just packed with explosives. But in order for the artillery to be a credible threat to Seoul, the installations need to be able to fire out of the tunnels, which means apertures for the artillery positions, which we have been able to surveil. And the fact that you know about the tunnels means that the tunnels themselves have been surveilled, and if Kim Jong Un is willing to allow inspectors in to certify that he's removed the artillery, then that would be another sort of level of confirmation, which would indeed show that the situation on the peninsula continues to improve. And so when it comes to the DPRK, I am cautiously optimistic. Yeah, Dom, while pessimism is a valuable perspective, while pessimism is a valuable perspective, saying it'll never happen was the same position on having a meeting between the president and Kim Jong Un at all ever. So a lot of things that would never happen in regards to the DPRK have been happening. So, well, I think that you're right to be skeptical, but I think that a little bit of optimism is not unwarranted in this case, because the things that we're seeing out of the DPRK have literally never happened since the split. And I think that's a good thing, and I think that we should encourage them. Uh, yeah. So my position is an optimistic one, but one that is tempered by the fact that the DPRK has a tendency to renege on deals. And so, if they do renege, and going back to having nukes pointed at each other, would be just a return to how things were. Yeah, you guys are correct that the Trump presidency has brought me cautious optimism. As you know, and as I've said repeatedly, I wrote in Hopper Crowder for my vote. Are you talking about the Putin summit? I haven't seen very much about the Putin summit. The left has been going a little bit nuts over the socialist in New York and what is it? And immigration recently, leaving foreign policy to the wayside. It's almost completely drowned out. I have to go looking for information on the DPRK and my prayer for reunification as well. And Uncensored Christian, I don't think anybody escapes justice in the final accounting. So I don't think that we really have to worry terribly about Kim Jong-un facing justice in the end. But that doesn't mean we can't encourage him to do the right thing now. Yeah, Nirat brings up that the left believes that Bernie Sanders is too right-wing, according to the current left, and that's because he wants to have socialism plus borders, sort of nationalistic in that, the United States should be a nation with borders, but also socialistic in that, wealth needs to be redistributed and the means of production ought to belong to the state. Huh. Does sound a little bit familiar. But then this New York lady, she's internationalistic in that there should be no borders between nations, and socialistic in that the state should own the means of production. Now that sounds just a little bit familiar. Huh. Golly, it seems like they're just awfully similar ideologies that were both tried out in the 20th century and both failed miserably and caused ungodly amounts of death and destruction. I just can't quite. Oh, that's right. National Socialism and Communism. Golly, it's like we're having the same argument that we had 100 years ago. Wowee! It's not like any of these ideologies have changed at all. Nope. It's not like we've had over 400 years of showing that classical liberalism, that liberty is the best possible system. Nah, it's not like that at all. But the more that the state gets diminished, the more people will realize that they don't actually need it to survive. I think that people who are socialistic now are mostly afraid that they can't make it in the market. But they don't understand that the more free the market becomes, then the more domains of expertise can become domains of value, because I don't think that there's a limit I haven't decided on if I want California to become 3 states. I think that this state is too populous and too disparate to be a single state. I think that it would probably suit the nation if we could be better represented. It's like where I live now. See, the problem with, yeah, Nira, I think I think that probably they believe they can hollow out and destroy Islam. I think they believe they can do that. But Islam has this thing where if you criticize the Prophet, they just chop off your head. uh, well, Dom, see, I'll do a Periscope from the 4th of July parade. I'm going to go there. I'm going to dress nicely and I'm going to politely ask people what they love about America and what they're celebrating at this parade. And maybe you guys will change your mind about the worth of my state and why we need to just kick all of the socialists out onto an island somewhere and just leave them there. So look forward to that. But that'll be on Periscope only because I can't do the multi-streaming from my phone. So, and I'll go with a full, no, not Islands Island. Rural California is a completely different world from city California. It's not even north versus south. Because the three population centers, San Diego leans slightly right, okay? But it's still heavily Democrat, heavily kind of blue. But LA is basically a socialistic hellhole. And San Francisco is worse. I live in the middle of wine country, and there are real liberals and real conservatives in the American sense here, and we can talk to each other. We can talk to each other about expanding liberty and conserving traditions. Oh, Nira, yeah, I'm going to the Templeton parade tomorrow. Yeah, LA is hell. I used to have to go there for work sometimes, driving in there. Oh my goodness. Mostly I worked and lived in Orange County, which is like having LA County and Orange County are right next to each other, right? And so it's like having Texas right next to Venezuela. Think of it like that. Yeah. See, the thing about California is they take Stalin's thing about who counts the vote as being serious. Yes, it is. So if you want to meet me at Nino's, I'll have a cider with you. And there's going to be a parade, and it's going to be great. Yes, that is the correct Templeton. Yeah, I thought you actually might. I thought you might live in San Luis. Also, everyone, please inform the good fellow Carl Benjamin, also known as Sargon of Akkad, that it is pronounced San Luis. Not Louis, Luis. Es Espanol, not golly gosh darn moonspeak of heathens. Yay, stickball. Go team. I don't know. Oh, that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate that you can't get up here by tomorrow. Although it's like, yeah, anyone who wants to hang with me at the whiskey bar or at Nino's or whatever, just give me a heads up, and I will just give me a heads up, and I'll make the trip, and we'll have a drink and have a chat, and it'll be great because friendship is awesome. Yeah, that is true, Dax. The crowded areas are always more into big government and statist kind of ways of being. And I think it's because when you're packed in, you're always involved in each other's business. Just anywhere in San Luis County, California. That's actually a brewery near us, and I can have they do actually carry some Red Bridge there, so I can have a drink. Yes, Airship is awesome. Yeah, I like to have a good time. I'm not so great at being sociable though. Well, we'll sneak you in and we'll drink cider and it'll be great. It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. The greatest bears in all of California. Oh, I didn't know that. See, that's the problem is I don't go out enough. You're right. I didn't know that Tent City actually has open mic nights. That's I do know that almost everywhere does live music. We're pretty much that would be great. There is a hot air balloon festival here. I think we missed it though. So a blimp, maybe not, but we could get a balloon. Awesome, Debbie Bear, Santa Maria, and Arroyo Grande are great places. All right, yeah. Now we did end up talking a little bit more about socialism and civility, which is fine. But I think we had a great conversation. You guys are a fantastic audience, very good looking. And this has. Oh, what's your idea, Mayor McDeath? It's not as bad. It's not that bad. It's pretty nice. I don't have any settings for in my what is going on. Dashboard settings done. All right, I fixed it. I think I fixed it. Yeah, sure. I can go for 5 more minutes. Well, yeah, it's like that in everywhere in California though. Yeah, good night, veteran. So, yeah, this when it comes to having bear meetups in Central California, I'm pretty much always game, and it would be just a wonderful thing. No stream tomorrow because 4th of July, probably, but I will be periscoping from the parade. So look forward to that. The monologue is up on the blog. I have to go in and edit it because I just noticed some errors, but it's there. Give it a read if you missed the thing. Let's definitely set up a bear meetup. I don't know when. Let's probably avoid a holiday and avoid my birthday. But definitely we should have a bear meetup in California because that would be super fun. Alright, so yeah, this has been Field Talk, and I am the Field, also known as Field of Bears, here for our, celebration of freedom, and here to remind you that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. If you enjoyed this stream, please hit the like button, share it, comment when it goes as a video, and follow me on the social things. If you didn't enjoy the stream, I can take it. Hit that dislike button. PayPal.me/FieldTalk to sow the field. And never forget that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. I bungled that badly, but it's okay. Have a great night, everyone.